When should Quest 3 start getting exclusive games? We ran a poll of the channel asking you all that very question, and so far 72% of you said right at launch. Having said that, I've had some spirited debates in Discord and on social media recently with people who feel like Meta should wait. Today I'm going to give you my thoughts on this topic. I've said in other videos that I don't think we'll see developers drop Quest 2 support for existing games until late 2024 at the earliest, but that doesn't mean Quest 3 should not get exclusive games that aren't playable on Quest 2 until then. I agree we should get exclusives at launch, but I want to address the points people on the other side of the issue were making. The main counterpoint is that it's too soon after Quest 2's launch and it screws the people who got Quest in the last year. The simple fact is that's going to be the case no matter when Meta flips the switch, and that's partially Meta's own fault. Keeping the Quest 2 on the market at the $300 price point will entice VR newcomers to go for that headset over the more expensive current model. And unless they absolutely fall in love with VR via Quest 2, the odds of them turning right around and dropping $500 on the latest and greatest aren't very high. So if you're Meta, what's your selling point for Quest 3 over Quest 2? Your average consumer has no idea what pancake lenses are, what a depth sensor is, or any of the other features Meta is touting. Yes, these things are meaningful to the enthusiast crowd like me, but in terms of Meta's target audience, frankly, we're the minority here. Meta already has our attention and general interest. If they didn't, there's no chance you're bothering to watch this video. The history of PC VR has proven that enthusiast support alone is not enough to create a profitable VR ecosystem, otherwise Meta and other companies never pivot to standalone in the first place. No, for the average consumer, what's gonna sell them on Quest 3 are games, period, full stop. And the history of video game sales has reiterated this point over and over again. Beat Saber has sold millions of Quest 2s just by itself. Half-Life Alyx created a brief boom period for Valve Index sales and for PC VR in general. The best-selling video game console ever made is the PlayStation 2. Go look at that catalog. Banger after banger after banger. The original Xbox was at the time of its release the best spec hardware console on the market, and nobody cared about it at all until Halo. When the first PlayStation launched, it was actually outsold by the Sega Saturn in its first few weeks because the Saturn had Virtua Fighter. So Meta holding back on the best selling point they could possibly use to sell Quest 3s, that being high quality games, in order to placate the owners of the last generation system makes zero sense to me. VR developers and gamers have been complaining for years that Quest 2's hardware is holding back game development. So you want them to maintain the glass ceiling on higher end standalone games for even longer? Also, this summer alone, we just had a Metagaming showcase and an Upload VR showcase with something like 30 games coming to Quest 2 in the next 6 months to a year, including Meta's first party release in years, Asgard's Wrath 2. Quest 2 is going to be fine. The other point is it doesn't make sense for developers to be making exclusive games right away until they see how well Quest 3 is selling. Again, this makes zero sense to me. It really speaks to a lack of knowledge of how long it takes to make a video game. Not a crappy looking asset flip of all the free stuff on Unity. No, I mean the AAA level titles we've all been clamoring for. Those games take years to make. Say you're one of those developers and you wait 6 months to a year to see how Quest 3 sales are before you start working on the game. It's going to take you at least a year to put out something at the quality you're happy with. We're in 2025 at that point, likely already talking about Pico 5, Quest 4, and PlayStation VR 3. Quest 3 is going to be the 6th VR headset we've gotten in the last year, after Pico 4, Quest Pro, PlayStation VR 2, DPVR E4, and Vive XR Elite. I can name multiple headsets right now that are due to launch in the next year. VR technology is advancing so fast right now and materials are getting cheaper and cheaper, so this isn't going to stop. Frankly, if you're not already working on games for the current generation hardware, you're already behind. Lastly, what's the biggest complaint VR players usually have, and what's the primary reason VR headsets start to collect dust? What's the biggest complaint about PlayStation VR 2 and Pico 4? Lack of games to play. People who already had other VR headsets were getting bored with PSVR 2 just a couple of months after release because they already ran through the 3 exclusives available, those being Horizon Call of the Mountain, Resident Evil Village, and Gran Turismo. Pico 4 has no exclusives, so its best function right now is as a PC VR headset, and a lot of people have headsets they prefer over it. Also, Meta owns 9 different VR studios. We already know Sanzaru Games is bringing us Asgard's Wrath 2. Ready at Dawn is at a microscope for their next project after killing off Echo Arena. Twisted Pixel is currently hiring for their next project. We have no idea what Beat Games, Big Box, Downpour Interactive, Armature, Camouflage, or what they might be cooking up. Moreover, they can't do what Sony's doing and just have all the third-party vendors port their Quest games over because Quest 3 is backwards compatible with Quest 2. All those games are already playable. So far, we've only heard of one studio, Skydance, commit to remastering a Quest 2 game, the first Saints and Sinners game. It would be a colossal mistake not to have some software ready to go to show off all these features, plus something to start pushing the limits of what the headset can do visually. If you don't believe me, just look at the last headset Meta put out and how that turned out. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with me or if you think I've completely lost my mind. If you're curious about my personal Quest 3 wishlist, click the video on the screen right now, and as always, thank you for watching.